Hey guys, Sugar Daddy Shaves here, and we are going to be doing a seventh day shave of Austere August. And in case you're new to that, it is a time where I use the same gear the entire month every day. And with the purposes for me, this is for me to figure out how many uses I can get out of Martin de Candre, a hard shaving soap that is expensive, but it could actually be a budget soap if it gives you tons of uses, right? That's what I want to find out. I am also putting some uses on my Gillette Nacet that I've had for a very long time, and should be around 335 or some by the time I finish August. I am also putting more uses on. It started with about 10 uses at the beginning of August, so 40 uses, and it should be a pretty different brush by that time. And then this is one, a boar brush, that I am going to really focus many of my energies on. My other boars, I've got a good collection of them. It's a good one to have a collection of because they're not expensive, right? I'm slowly growing them all at the same level, and that means that it's a slow process. Whereas this one, I'm really going to use it on a regular basis because boars with 100 uses, 200 uses are so different in many cases than boars with 15 uses, that sort of thing. So I want to get at least one brush up to that level so that I can just know the full spectrum. It's a blessing to have so many, but it's a curse that they grow so slowly if you use them in a consistent rotation. All right, so those are my goals during Austere August. I have a video put out around August 1st or something that just says Austere August if you want to know more about that particular effort. All right, there are a bunch of us online that are doing it. I'm in a different bathroom than usual, but I have put it on this channel before, so some of you faithful viewers will recognize it. I'm at a relative's house. And so the gear, as usual for August, Fatip. This is the open comb base plate. This is the Piccolo handle. This is the Piccolo from Connaught Shaving, and it does come with the solid bar base plate as well, but all month I'll be using the open comb. And my Nacet, like you saw earlier, I've got 308 uses on it right now. Today is 309. And I showed you the soap. This is the balm, Soap Commander Integrity, menthol-free is the balm I'm using all month. The brush that you saw was the Semogue Owners Club, is the boar brush. Big splay, dense, lots of bristles, really enjoying it already. I'll be using my normal lather bowl. I also wanted to show a couple of things. I went to a local beauty supply place and looked around, and they had a lot of aftershaves, but they kind of, I'll have to investigate, maybe ask some friends about the different aftershaves. I'm sure they were that Lustre brand and Master and Tiger, some of those type of brands, that I guess that barbers would use and then give their customers a choice. Would you like this kind of aftershave, that sort of thing. I don't know if any of them are worth buying, but at least I know they're local if I want to do that. And so while I was there, I found this. It's kind of a barber's travel kit, but I bought just the case. I was able to buy just the case. These are things where the loops of your scissor handles would go here, and then the point would go through this little sleeve, and vice versa. So you could store two pairs of scissors right there. And over here are two pockets, I guess, for combs. Well, I thought this could be good for shaving. And so, yeah, sure enough, I was able to kind of fit my razor right here, and that loop would tuck in the handle. I was able to, I write and keep track of the blade uses with a Sharpie. The Sharpie was able to lay in there. You see my 1/4 teaspoon scoop for doing samples. My syringe was able to be in there as well. Enough room for a blade tuck. And I think that might be a good way to pack stuff and travel just for a few dollars. So we'll try that out, see if it works. And then another thing I picked up was something, of course, I've known about for a while, Dickinson's Witch Hazel. Its competition is Thayer's. Now Thayer's is a witch hazel solution or a witch hazel toner that's mostly probably aloe, an aloe solution, and then it's got a little bit of witch hazel in it. Some folks estimated, based on the order of ingredients and some of the chemical things that they know about, it to be about 8% witch hazel. And the one what I have and have been using and have been very happy with is an alcohol-free version. I'd like to try the alcohol version as well sometime, but this guy right here is, I think, pretty much pure witch hazel. 100% all natural witch hazel. That's it. So, uses, temporary relieves minor skin irritation, minor cuts, minor scrapes, insect bites. It says use a cotton ball or cleansing pad and gently wipe skin. Apply as often as necessary. So I do tell you one thing. This is available at discount places like Walmart and Dollar Tree and that sort of thing for a lot cheaper than this particular brand. I don't know if there's a difference or not. Probably not. But one thing that's common between them, they all stink. It smells bad. And so we'll just see. Let's try it out. We'll see how long the stink lasts. See if I need to, maybe that's why a good aftershave might be good to have with it. So we'll give that a try. Okay. Let's put the blade in the razor. My usual technique with the Fatip sometimes can give you alignment issues where you, but it's not really an issue. It's just something where you have to fiddle with it. I'm just going to drop the blade on there. Drop the base plate on there, kind of let them fall in a flat way, and then screw it in. Not fully tight, but just tight enough not to move. And then just inspect the... Perfect. There we go. Wasn't too hard, was it? Okay. The brush has been soaking for several minutes, and so that's perfect. We've examined coming at the soap, loading the soap with dryish brush, not truly dry, really wet, and it all kind of produced the same lather, which is great. It means it's not picky in that regard, so that's nice. So what we're doing now, what we did last time, was I tried to hit a 15-second load time. I missed it by 3 seconds. It went over. So now what if we just tried a 10-second load? Let's just see if that gives us 3 passes of lather. Now a little bit of moisture is on the top of this soap from the last time, and so it's not a purely dry soap. But if you use it every day, that's kind of what you're going to be dealing with anyway. All right, so I'm going to come over here. I wonder if I can turn the camera. It's precariously perched. Let's see if we're able to do that without spilling the whole world. All right. So use my usual of shaking out much of the water. And then here we go. A 10-second, 30 rolled around right there. Let's just try 10 seconds with a lightly wet brush. I have to watch the timer because it's going to come around really soon, and there. It just wasn't very much time. That'll be interesting to see what we get. I'm going to take the excess here, kind of pre-wash my face a little bit. One and a half days of growth, so not your typical shave growth, a little bit more than usual. Gonna wash the suds off the side of the tub. Always be careful because things are slippery. All right. And I do like to wet my face before the shave, so I'm going to pause you while I rinse. And when I said not wet my face before the shave, I meant wet my face before I mix up the lather. It just gets my bristles nice and soft for the shave. It's really the only pre-shave I do. Other people like to put on a pre-shave cream or lotion or oil or whatever. I just choose not to do that. I'm kind of minimalist in that regard. Plus I have oily skin. So look, we already have. Wouldn't it be crazy if this was plenty of lather? I think the water in this area is fairly soft. Let's go ahead and put in 2 teaspoons. For a 30-second load, I often found that about 6 teaspoons were necessary. So who knows, maybe this is all the water I'll need to add. Hopefully I haven't overwatered it. Downward angle, the down facing up angle of the camera here definitely doesn't make it as easy for me to show you my lather. Sometimes when you push down lightly and then lift up, you can look at the lather. You see those peaks? Kind of memorize that look. I believe that means I need to keep going a little bit. But for you, it might be perfect. So that's one of the things that you can look at as you find your perfect hydration level, where you like to have your lather. I have learned that MdC, it can handle being kind of light, but it's not as nice of a, I wish for a little bit more slickness. But if I make it too creamy, where it feels maybe luxurious, then it's dry on my face. So, but it's not too hard to find that middle ground. Oh yeah, we've got plenty of lather. 10 seconds. This is nuts. This is crazy that I've got so much lather here with just 10 seconds of loading. Let's add another half teaspoon, so 3.5 total teaspoons of water. 10 seconds of loading with a lightly wet brush. You don't have to count your water going in if you don't want to, you know, because I do it because it's objectively something I can share with you guys instead of using some kind of relative measure like just add water till it looks right. Because if you're new, you don't know what looks right, do you? And we still have those peaks, but if you see there's a slight difference. They're a little bit more gloppy, more shiny. Sometimes the sheen is something you can tell when the lather starts to have a sheen. Then that might be where you like to do it. That all depends on the soap, though. And in my experience, just because a soap may not develop a sheen in its lather doesn't mean it's a bad soap or you're not doing something right. I think some soaps are just not that way. Tons of lather. Still kind of supporting its own weight, but MdC doesn't like to get to that really elastic point that I prefer with my better quality soaps. The Vetiver scent is medium strong. Now, remember, I jam down in the, lightly jam down in the lather and then lift up. See, look, it's gotten so pillowy down there and the peaks have softened up a little bit. It's not holding its structure quite as tight. Let's just use this. We'll give it just another minute of mixing. Let's try this out. plenty of lather with 10 seconds of loading. That is just nuts. All right, so. And I'm going to pause you while I rinse my face off again. And let's lather up. Now we want the lather to be on our face, I like to say about 3 minutes at least before we start shaving it off. That way it does a couple of things. Softens your hairs further, and it works its way into your skin so that it can protect your skin from the blade scraping that's about to happen. That sort of thing. Also, it's doing some cleaning, working away oils and dirt and things like that, which is good for people like me who do not do a face wash usually before a shave. This has gotten kind of thick. I'm going to add some more water. Take some of the lather on the sides here and get it off, because it'll just flop off in a minute because there's just so much lather on my face. Plenty of lather. Oh man, I'm gonna have so much left. Okay, I believe that's 4 teaspoons of water. Now I'm gonna let this lather sit on my face for just a second, because I did add a little bit more water into the lather. So let's kind of integrate that while we allow my face to kind of soak in the suds. 10 seconds. I'll go down to 7 next time. With chiseled face, I was able to do 7 seconds and get about 4 passes of lather when I was doing it last year in August. It's comical. Okay, let's shave this off. So, use number 309 actually. I misread that. That's 3, yeah, I think I said that right. I can definitely feel when I use a lather that's kind of dry. Maybe I don't let it sit on my face, I don't work it on my face for long enough. The razor blade can feel more kind of scrapey. I'm getting some light tugging right now, but not really a big deal at all. There we go. Nice quick pass. Not focusing on it too much. Just it's all about beard reduction and not elimination in one pass, at least for me. Some people choose to do that, and they just maybe have to reapply lather in certain areas, but I like to do it in passes. A little half rinse, not a full rinse. Gather up some lather. Very soft brush today. As usual, very comfortable. A little tiny bit of scrub to it. And it's going to get even softer as the tips continue to split. I think this lather consistency right here, pretty much perfect. Now we'll do cross grain. So how am I able to get 309 shaves out of a blade? I have oily skin. Maybe that gives me an advantage. But the first pass kind of renders that oily skin moot, I think. Mainly, I believe it's due to the light touch and good technique. And I use very wet lathers. A lot of people overload their lathers, and at least when compared to me. Not saying anybody's right and wrong, it's just in comparison. So I have wet lathers that just lubricate a lot and allow the skin to be wet as well. When there's more soap, and then when the water concentration in the lather has more soap than the kind that I use, I think that doesn't help it to be as slick and protective, is my guess. All right, let's zip this little area right here. Now, as a touch-up, I can just grab some lather. This is my trouble spot right there. And just give that a little bit of a rework. This lather is not one that's especially good for secondary slickness, and so you do want to do touch-ups like you see what I'm doing, but re-lather areas before you hit them again. And I'm going to pause you while I do a little partial rinse. All right, I believe that is the second pass. I can't remember really. So let's load up the third. I have another 3 or 4 passes. That is insane. I mean, whether I've loaded for 30 seconds or 10 seconds, I'm still ending up with 3 or 4 passes of lather afterwards. And remember, the first pass is where you probably need to do more scrubbing. Second and third pass, you really just need to paint it on. But most of the time you'll see me working, and because I just like the feel of the brush. It's not necessary, you can just paint it on and go. But I just like the feel. Cross grain on my cheeks means I go this way. I could go from my goatee to my ear, but it just doesn't feel as good. Very comfortable. First pass was only lightly tuggy. The second and third are very comfortable. Now, this is my trouble spot. Now it's time to do something different. I do a little bit of skin tightening. I touch right here on my neck. I pull it toward my shoulder. I take my chin. I shoot it up that way to make my skin kind of tight. And then I'll do a cross grain pattern that's the opposite of this, which I've been doing the whole shave. Start down here and I'll go up. That is the trouble spot right there. And then I'll go to, this is where the hair shifts and I have to switch back to the other pass. And then let's take, since I have so much lather, let us re-lather that area one more time. And do that same exact stroke again from the kind of Adam's apple up to the ear. Now your own trouble spot may be somewhere different on your face. It took me months to figure out. that what I did just then seems to be the best way to come at that and have the most success. Took a long time of trying different directions and all this stuff. Most of my face, pretty normal pattern, straight down on my cheeks. Over here, it kind of comes to the side. When it gets down past my jawline, it kind of moves forward for a little bit and then moves backward. And then when it comes down here, it kind of heads off that same direction. So this seems to be the exit point of my beard. Yours may be totally different. Some guys' beards just go sideways like that. Some guys will have a circle, somewhere, or a place on their neck where it's almost like a black hole or a center part where everything goes out from it. And those circles can be really tricky because on one side, as you stroke across it, you are going with the grain, but on the other end, you're going against the grain. It can take some work. If you have a problem with that, I suggest you map out your face. Give yourself a good shave, and if you don't have any issues, then you don't have to worry about that shave map. Not everybody needs to do that. But if you do start having some issues with some areas that just aren't getting shaved very well, then you may want to map out the growth of your face. I should do a separate video on that, but what I recommend mostly, and I heard this from another shaver, I believe the mad scientist of wet shaving, I believe, shave what you think might be normal, and then feel around for what might be your trouble spot, and then focus your attention then on mapping the trouble spot. Because if 3/4 of your face is fine, then don't worry about mapping that part. There's no reason to do that because you're already able to get that easily. So just map out, like for me, it would be this section here. And so I could take a picture maybe and then look at the growth. Sometimes it helps to have a day or two of growth on your beard before, so that you can see your grain more easily. But if you just have 1 day of growth, if you have hair that grows about as mine, what you can do is feel it. And then when it feels smooth, then you are moving with the grain. When it feels when it's giving you the most resistance, that is the against the grain direction. So there you go. All right. I got so much lather left over. Oh, look at this. Well hydrated. This is what's left over. Notice it's slowly collapsing in on itself there. It can support that big kind of thing sticking out just a little bit, and then it starts to fall. So those are some traits you can look for as you try to find where your perfect lather zone is in terms of hydration. All right, so I'm going to clean that up. I'm going to pause you while I rinse. With that fresh rinse, why don't we try the Dickinson's? At the local beauty supply shop, this was $6 maybe. Probably cheaper on Amazon or something like that. There are some websites that talk about benefits of witch hazel. The scent kind of evens out when you squirt some out. It's not as intense as when you stick your nose in the jar to smell it. So it's not actually too bad. Any aftershave product worth its salt that's going to give you a scent is probably going to overcome this with ease, would be my guess. So that's encouraging. I could definitely see using this right before putting on maybe some of the aftershave splashes that have a lot of alcohol that bother my skin right after a shave, like Sterling is the biggest culprit. I really like their scents, many of them, and I like the alcohol because my oily skin likes that. And so I bet if I put on a splash of this witch hazel like I just did, I could pick any Sterling splash I wanted instead of having to wait an hour or two before I put it on for my skin to maybe stabilize and just feel a little better. Yeah, it didn't smell weird right now. It just dissipated pretty quickly, at least the scent. I can still smell just a little of it in my hands. So I'm encouraged. That's just not a bother. And, for the purposes of Austere August, I will continue to use the balm. So Commander makes very good balms. If you like menthol, then you can choose from pretty much any of their balms. This is the only one that doesn't contain menthol. It is unscented, and later on I'll figure out a splash to put on or something like that. All right. Excellent. I'm happy with the witch hazel. I'm glad I bought it. I'm glad I tried it. It's not as stinky as I thought. I'm going to clean up. Hey, here's a little tip for you. If you're traveling, right now I don't have a room, the availability of a towel bar to maybe hold a towel over, because I do like to, with my bore brushes, to strop them afterwards, and that can kind of be tedious if you're just holding a towel like this. So here's what I do. I hold the tip part in my mouth, and then I put my elbow kind of at this corner, and my hand reaches across that and grabs the other corner, and so I'm basically holding a large triangle, and that's what I can use to quickly strop. And there we go. Strop meaning just move it back and forth and switch rotations a little bit, so that sometimes you're moving it this way and sometimes you're working it this way, and that way we get that standing water out of there. All right, well, we're done. Slight tugginess on the first pass, actually more comfortable than the last few days of shaving for whatever reason. Maybe I let the lather sit on my face a little bit longer, don't really know. And very nice afterwards, and I have a nice, happy, close shave. Very good. If you are curious how this timeless lather bowl differs from the one you just saw me use, I just made a separate video about that, and they should be going up, this video and that video, at roughly about the same time, if you want to check that out. Basically the same height, and I love the materials in this one, but I don't really care for the size. It's a little bit too narrow in there, and I feel like the bristles of the brush are pulled laterally as I'm doing motions like this, and I don't think I like that. I could be imagining things, but that seems like the way it worked when I was working at it, and I wish this were just a little bit wider. The height, perfect. Wish it were a bigger diameter bowl, but I love the construction. I love the cost of this guy. I think that's it. So this is Sugar Daddy Shaves, and I sure hope there has been something in this video that's going to help you out. And you guys take care. Have a good day.